Tim, Carol, this is an easy one. And I say this with all due respect to the president. I think he made it up. I don't think there was any discussion of Tim Cook telling Trump that they have facilities in Mexico or planned any facilities in Mexico. As far as my reporting is concerned, Apple doesn't manufacture anything in Mexico, and Apple has no plans to manufacture anything in Mexico. What I think is more likely to have happened is that Tim Cook talked to Trump about its advanced manufacturing that it does in the United States, things like components, underlying parts in its devices. You have some manufacturing now occurring for some of the chips in the Apple Watch and the upcoming low-end iPad. You have manufacturing being done of some sensors, the Face ID sensor. Some of them are manufactured in the United States. You have Corning, right, in upstate New York that does some manufacturing. You have some manufacturing being done in Kentucky. But there has to be a distinction made between component manufacturing and final assembly manufacturing. The street, investors, when we talk about this stuff, we don't really care where the parts are made. That's not important. It really never comes up. We care about final assembly. It's a process called FATP, final assembly, testing, and packaging, right? That's the internal Apple and operational nomenclature for this stuff. That's building the device, putting it together, testing it, make sure it works, put it in the box, and ship it out to the customer wherever they are in the world. That's what we think of manufacturing, mass production, mass assembly. It's not happening in Mexico, and I don't believe it's happening in the U.S. either.
Where is it happening?
Oh, well, most of it's happening in our favorite place, China, right? A lot of it is going to continue there. Still, 90% plus of iPhones are made there, but they're doing more. They're doing some iPhone in India, including the new 16E is done in India, but they've already started the 16 Pro and regular 16s in India. You're seeing some manufacturing of Macs in places like Malaysia. You're seeing some manufacturing of AirTags that's going to start at some point in Indonesia. You're seeing Thailand in the mix there. You're seeing Vietnam in the mix there for some AirPods and Apple Watches. So they're slowly expanding out of China. I don't think they're replacing China, but I think they're augmenting what's being done in China. In China, really, when it comes to the iPhone and production, it's still the center of the universe. So long story short, no Mexico, and more advanced manufacturing of components in the U.S., certainly. And I believe that is what President Trump and Tim Cook talked about. But I don't see any major final assembly here happening. They do have a Mac Pro that they do make in Texas, and they've made it in Texas for 15 years now, and I strongly believe they'll continue doing so.
So even if they wanted to start thinking about changing significantly their global supply chain, Mark, it's not something they could do overnight. So in other words, their exposure to China is going to be there for a long time.
Their exposure to China is going to be there for a very long time. It took 25 years to build up the situation they have now in China. It's going to take a decade if they wanted to move everything out of China elsewhere. I don't anticipate that happening. And right now, there's no reason for it to happen there. The big topic of discussion right now within Apple's operations group is diversification. Diversification does not mean abandonment. Diversification means you have some stuff in China, you have some stuff in Thailand, you have some stuff in the US, you have some stuff in Europe, wherever. You just don't have it all in one place. COVID obviously wiped out Apple production facilities, which were pretty much all in China at the time. Now you get wiped out in one country, you got some backup.
What about when it comes to tariffs and Apple? I'm sure, look, I don't know what happened yesterday. I don't know what they talked about. Apple was able to
Do we
have
know
exemptions.
what they talked about?
Well, you have to look at it.
Sorry, I'm curious. Like, do we have any insight?
Yes, but you have to look at it, and this is going to answer your question.
Yeah.
You have to understand, Tim Cook needs a tariff reprieve. He wants Apple products to not get additional tariffs, iPhones, Macs, iPads, watches, you name it. You don't just, the way it works, you have to dangle a carrot in order to get what you want.